Okay, go ahead. Hello, it is me, Mark Himmelstein, hailing from Nepease, and Jose,
Hosea Gavan.
and we're here to talk a bit about what each of us do, and we're going to focus on how we can help inspire others to really pay it forward so that they not only themselves will grow and be their highest potential that they're able to be for themselves, but they can then take what they've learned and what they're doing to help themselves and more to help others to do the same. And the more people that each person can help, think of it like a spider's web, where it will just continue to grow and expand so that more and more people will be helped in the long run. And eventually it will spread worldwide.
Yes, I agree. I happened to grow up in a community in the 70s where that was the way of life. People gave back, people contributed to the community, to the better welfare of the society through volunteering and helping young people through coaching, through mentoring. Uh, this is something that I've seen with my own experience, and I think when you've seen something and lived through something, we had talked about sometimes people need to, sometimes don't believe. And it's important once you've experienced something. I know this is tangible. I know this is something that is real in terms of being able to inspire and motivate people to kind of get involved in helping others. Uh, that positive energy that we need to infuse into the community, that positive light, that love that we need to infuse into the community through volunteering and giving. So I think what what I'm trying to do and what I'm hoping that we'll be able to do together is to create a mega force of people who care about others and let that spirit of caring and that energy of caring help to transform and change communities and change lives. And that's in part why we're here in New Hampshire, of all places, for me to come to visit you and take this time to talk with you. And I thank you for the invitation.
Right. And the what's good about New Hampshire is the beauty and the nature that we have.
It's beautiful.
Because I plan on doing a lot more of these videos, and out in nature, up in the mountains and lakes areas, the rivers, the streams. We have everything here. We even have the ocean. So, but it doesn't matter where you are in the world, especially here in the West. We're going to have small towns to small to large cities, and there's going to be communities of many types and forms, and they all work more or less the same way. You're going to have a melting pot of cultures from all over the world, like especially here in this city, and in New York City, where you are from, where you have that melting pot. And we really need to learn more about each other, to accept each other, and work together for the greater good of the whole. And I've seen far too many people from a lot of these subcultures, they like stick together with each other like glue, and they're hesitant to intermingle with those outside of their culture within the local community, unless they have to. And we need to help them to get through that. So how do you see, with the work that you do, to help them to get through that? Because I know that you work a lot to inspire the children.
Well, we're here in the park, watching children in the background playing and engaging in the swings, playing on the swings and on the slides, and I also see a couple of parents that are kind of with their children. And one of the things that we don't see enough of is, unfortunately, where I'm from, at least where I work in the South Bronx, and oftentimes you don't see the scene in the South Bronx. You don't see kids out playing in the park because after school and oftentimes, most parents don't feel it's safe enough for children to go out and play in the communities that they live in. So part of how we can begin to change that culture and that dynamic is by, as we have a parent here or two parents here, we may be able to get volunteers of people within the community that are willing to take kids simply to the park. We're not talking about any kind of high-priced, well-financed project. We're talking about taking kids simply to the park, and that's a basic experience that a lot of kids just don't experience in today's world because it's just not safe and there's not the supervision. So we talk about paying it forward, and it takes a village. That's something very small, but we take for granted. You know, I played in the park most of my childhood, around the corner from where I grew up, playing basketball in the park. And it was a safer environment. My parents were comfortable with me going to the park. That may not be the case today if I was living in the community that I grew up in. So.
All right. Now do you have the Guardian Angels still in New York City?
I believe so. I believe so.
Perhaps you could inspire some of them to volunteer and work with the organization since they are already community and civic minded.
Mm-hmm. That's a fabulous idea. I think to your point, Mark, there are plenty of organizations out there that are doing the things that need to be done. And part of the vision of the program I'm involved with is how do we embellish those programs? How do we enhance those programs so they could even be more effective? Because they're doing a service, they're doing a duty in terms of security and creating a greater sense of protection for communities that may be, for whatever reason, the police are not making the impact that they could.
Right. Have you worked with some of the people that work in community policing?
I have.
And are they more open, or are they hesitant to work with you?
It's not. The police officers that I work with are very friendly and are very open and receptive to working with the community, but they can only be but so many places.
Right.
You know? And I think that what happens is that although you have people in certain roles, that's their job, I think we have to kind of create systems where we supplement and augment those types of, because you can't police an entire community with 50 officers or 100 officers.
Right.
They can't be everywhere. So you want to create a sense within the community where adults are starting to kind of take their communities back, get more involved in taking charge. There are retirees, there are and all it is just making more of a positive, creating more positive energy, because a lot of these communities are very depressed and are very, very disenchanted for so many reasons that we won't go into right now. But in order to help reverse that, you have to really pump in some positive energy, and there's so many ways in which we need to help society. But in this small way, it can go a long way, in my opinion.
Right. Now, tell, because we'll probably be having this on both of our YouTube channels.
Okay.
Explain a little bit about your nonprofit, how you got it started, and also the link where they can get more information.
Okay. My wife and I started, and a group of friends started a nonprofit called the National Give Back to Kids campaign. And that organization, founded in 2009, was created to kind of do what we're talking about, inspiring adults, and could be children and older children, to get involved with helping other children. And we have a whole campaign and design that we're about to roll out beginning this November. And we're pretty excited about that.
Now, one of the key factors, which I know you're well aware of, especially being a guidance counselor as well, is how peer pressure can be used in negative ways and also in positive, constructive ways.
That's correct.
So how would you guide kids to be more aware of how peer pressure works and how to use it and create it so it has a positive approach. Because I know that a big piece of what you do is also teaching leadership.
Right.
So how do you inspire and teach that so that there's that positive peer pressure?
Well, I think it comes down to the values that we instill in our children, and you want to try to be an example of the kind of person you want them to be. So when we talk about modeling behaviors, I try to be an example of modeling a behavior that is supportive, that is positive, that is encouraging, that is inspirational, so they can see how it's done. And hopefully I'm having that effect on them. So through my example, now they can begin to see how to interact and how to, sometimes conflict mediation, that's a lot of what I deal with in terms of trying to get young people to understand that they're more than capable. You don't always need an adult to solve a problem. Right? They're more than capable of solving the problems themselves sometimes, but they just have to oftentimes listen and be sensitive and compassionate. So these are the kinds of values that you want them to become more familiar with and in tune with. Compassion, understanding, sensitivity. We all sometimes can be in our own bubble. Right. And you kind of spoke to clicking, people being very cliquish and very into their own world, into their own culture. And sometimes when that happens, it doesn't allow for people to really understand because they're locked in. And in order for us to begin to understand people and understand different cultures and religions and all kinds of the different sectors in society, people have to open up and share. And then you have to be yourself open and willing to be taught and to be exposed.
Now, how do you see yourself also working, sort of bridging, because a lot of times you have kids within families that are, say some of them are in elementary school, some of them are in junior high or middle school, some of them might be in high school, and you want those different age groups to work together, different generations within the family. And then another major challenge is also blended families, so that not only are you dealing with kids of different ages within the family unit, but also blended families. And yourself as a guidance counselor, I'm sure that's part of what you work with, is how to really work with blended families that do not grow up together, but they become a family and form the bonds with each other.
One of the challenges that I've discovered working within the education system in New York City, our focus is on the child, and I'm in the elementary school. My school is from pre-K to 5. So within my school, I'm kind of focused within that age group, within that population. And although that child may have, or those children may have older peers in junior high school and high school, our focus is on the child. Then the other part of it is so much of what needs to happen is in line with us needing to help parents become more prepared in terms of parent training, in terms of how to deal with some of the challenges that parents have to deal with today, in terms of how do you get a family to become one. It's not easy. There's so many variables that could impact how things just don't come together the way they need to, and sometimes people need guidance and direction, and so we don't always have the resources to actually go out and get the counseling and get the training and get the direction that we need. So again, that's where it takes a village. You have churches, you have community centers, you have political entities that could possibly help in this regard in terms of just being able to help to identify those within our community or outside of our community willing to help within the community to kind of help to do the training, help to do the guiding and the directing, and helping to kind of connect the dots that need to be connected.
Well, a big, huge piece. Like
What's up, Jesse?
Like we were like we were talking
I
about.
can't do that hand because it's my shoulder.
That's good.
Yeah, it's my shoulder.
Yeah, is advocacy and teaching advocacy skills to families so that they can make sure that all of the family members, especially the children's needs, are met. To find the resources that are available, how to find those resources that are available, so that they can really not only get all their families' needs met, but also pay it forward to teach other families how to do the same. And I see that's a huge piece of what I can provide, is that guidance as how to be a strong advocate and work within the system without causing too many ruffles. But of course, you're going to find some case managers and others that are going to be receptive and open to strong advocates, and some that are not. I mean, myself having 4 kids, 3 grandkids, I've had a mixed bag of that. Good experiences and not so good experiences, where you have to take it up a notch and then up another notch and then up another notch in order to get things done and done right.
Well, I think one of the things that you touched on, knowledge is power. And when you have access to information and when you have a good, keen sense as to your rights and a clear understanding of your entitlements, see, a lot of parents are not aware of what they're entitled to, what they're able to attain, just simply by asking. The resources are available in some cases, but we're not taking advantage of the resources and the laws that are in place to help protect our children, to help give our children the additional support that they may need. Some of our kids have special needs, and there are federal programs, there's state programs that are designed to support the families and to help the families, because as a society we recognize that for many of these families it's a great challenge and a burden to deal with some of the challenges that they have with their own children. So I think it's key, as you mentioned, to be sharing information, so creating opportunities for parents to come together to share and talk and find out what parents know, and how can we be supportive of each other. We don't come together enough in the community. They used to have town hall meetings back in the day, back in town would come together and they would discuss the issues and they would discuss the problems, and they would have a family member representing each family. We don't come together as a community that often. One of the beauties of today's world is that we have the internet, and we have technology that can maybe do what town hall meetings did 100 years ago, 200 years ago. So now we can take advantage of the technology that exists, and we have to just create those venues where people can kind of come together and share information and share those kinds of things that can help to uplift communities and uplift families.
That's why more and more nonprofit and organizations need to work together that are doing similar work, which is what my vision for the Phoenix Sunrise Foundation, which we're going to be working on, as well as what you do, is going to do just that. Work on not only on the small local levels, but on the global levels, and that teaching education and really bringing all the cultures, all the civilizations all around the world together to co-create together for the greater good of the whole. It's not I'm from this country, I'm from that country, I'm from this culture, I'm from that culture. We are all of the earth. We should work together as earth humans here for the greater good of all of us, of all life. Not separation like it has been for far too long. It's time for us to come together as a planet, as a world, so we can truly lead an example to our younger children and really also listen. Quite often our younger children have the inner wisdom, but are we open-minded or open-hearted enough to listen to them? Or are we going to teach them and condition them in our old ways of thinking. Inspire the new thought to really co-create together for the greater good of the whole, or be like the jack-in-the-box in the old ways. It's your choice. What is it to be?
Well said. Well said. And I hope you accept the challenge that you've just been presented with, because you have a stake in creating change within this planet, within this world. And it takes you to initiate that courage, that belief in yourself, and what you're capable of becoming, and what we're capable of becoming as a world community. And I look forward to that time. I do believe that time is getting closer and closer to where we'll be in a place, hopefully in our children's generation and in their lives, where they'll see less turmoil and less strife and less racial conflict, less religious conflict. We see so much of it in the world today, particularly in America, unfortunately. When you look at the gun violence that exists here, it's alarming. The rate of deaths is as far as Western countries go, we're the worst. We're the worst.
Well, one thing to be aware of is here in the United States, don't believe everything that's in the news. Because here, even in the United States, there is propaganda.
Oh, no.
You just need to be aware of that. It's not just in communist countries in other parts of the world.
Oh, well,
We have it here in the U.S. as well.
yeah, there is certainly a force out there that probably wants things to stay the same, and there's a force out there also that wants to see positive change. So the conflict is when those two forces meet, and who's going to be the more powerful force, because there are a lot of people that benefit from our society not functioning effectively.
Right. It comes from free choice, from the heart, from the love and the support and the intentions for the greater good of the family, the greater good of the community, the greater good of the planet, which is far stronger in the long run, or fear, which is very counterproductive and destructive. Fear, anger do not help. They just create more challenges that need to be overcome. What is your choice?
Very well. Very good. Very good. I don't know how to. That's a great way to close.